She cleaned his office every night for 2 years, and he never once looked her in the eye. Naomi Carter was invisible, just another face in a uniform that nobody bothered to learn. But when she walked into that company gala in an elegant dress, everything changed. Suddenly, the man who'd never noticed her couldn't look away. What started as a single glance spiraled into whispers, rumors, and a choice that would force them both to decide: hide in the shadows or step into the light together. This is a story about dignity, courage, and what happens when love refuses to stay invisible. If you're watching this, subscribe and tell me, what city are you watching from right now? The hallway smelled like lemon cleaner and old carpet. Naomi Carter pushed her cart slowly, the wheels squeaking with each step. Her navy work uniform fit loose around her small frame. At 27, she'd learned to move through spaces without drawing attention. The office workers were leaving for the day. They streamed past her, talking on phones, laughing with each other, their shoes clicking on the tile floor. Most didn't look at her. Some stepped around her cart without breaking stride. A few nodded quickly, their eyes already moving past her face. Naomi didn't mind anymore. She'd worked as a janitor at Morrison & Associates for 2 years. The consulting firm took up 3 floors of the building downtown. Glass walls separated the offices. Everything looked expensive and clean. Her job was to keep it that way. She sprayed the glass door of a conference room and wiped it in smooth circles. Through the window, she could see the city lights starting to glow. The sky was turning purple. "Hold that elevator!" A man's voice echoed down the hall. Naomi glanced up. A young white man in a gray suit was jogging toward the elevator, phone pressed to his ear. His tie was loosened. Dark hair fell across his forehead. He looked stressed. She recognized him. Ethan Caldwell. He was one of the junior consultants. She'd seen him around for months, always moving fast, always talking on his phone. The elevator doors started to close. "Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers now," Ethan said into his phone. He wasn't looking where he was going. His shoulder caught the edge of Naomi's cart. A folder slid off the cart and hit the floor. Papers scattered across the tile. Ethan stopped, glanced down, and kept walking. Naomi bent to pick up the papers. Her knees ached from being on her feet all day. She gathered the sheets carefully, making sure they stayed in order. "Sir?" she called out. "Your folder?" Ethan was already at the elevator. He turned, looking confused. Then he saw the folder in her hands. "Oh," he jogged back. "Thanks." He took the folder without really looking at her. His eyes were on his phone screen. "No problem," Naomi said quietly. "Yeah, sorry about that," he said. But he was already walking away again, the phone back at his ear. "No, not you. I'm still here. The projections don't match what we discussed." His voice faded as he stepped into the elevator. The doors closed between them. Naomi stood there for a moment, watching her reflection in the polished elevator doors. A small woman in a work uniform. Invisible. She went back to her cart and kept cleaning. An hour later, the office was empty. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Naomi moved through the space methodically. Trash bins, desks, glass walls. She knew the routine by heart. In the break room, someone had spilled coffee on the counter and left it to dry. Naomi scrubbed at the brown ring. The paper towels turned dark. "Girl, you still here?" Naomi looked up. Grace Lou stood in the doorway, her own cleaning cart beside her. Grace was 30, with sharp eyes and a quick smile. She'd trained Naomi when she first started. They'd been friends ever since. "Just finishing this floor," Naomi said. "You?" "Done with mine. I'm clocking out." Grace leaned against the doorframe. "You hear about the gala?" "What gala?" "The big company party next month. They do it every year. Real fancy. Downtown hotel, open bar, the whole thing." Grace grinned. "All the executives dress up and pretend they like each other." Naomi smiled a little. "Sounds exhausting." "Probably is." Grace's phone buzzed. She checked it and her eyebrows went up. "Huh. Darla's texting me." "Darla Pike?" "Yeah, she coordinates the gala, says she needs extra help the night of. Wants to know if I know anyone who wants to make some cash." Naomi wrung out her cloth in the sink. "What kind of help?" "Last-minute logistics stuff, making sure things run smooth. She's offering $25 an hour." Grace looked at her. "You interested?" $25 an hour was more than Naomi made cleaning. She thought about her aunt's medical bills, the stack of envelopes on her kitchen counter. "Would I have to be around people?" "Some, but Darla's cool. She won't put you anywhere uncomfortable. Grace sent a quick text. I'm telling her you might want in. Naomi dried her hands slowly. Extra money would help. But the idea of being at a fancy event, surrounded by the same people who walked past her every day, made her stomach tight. Let me think about it, she said. Sure, but don't think too long. Darla needs an answer by tomorrow. They walked out together, pushing their carts toward the service elevator. The building felt different at night, quieter, more honest. You ever notice, Grace said, how they look right through us? Naomi knew what she meant. Yeah. Doesn't bother you? Not really. Naomi pressed the elevator button. I mean, it used to. But now, I don't know, it's easier sometimes, being invisible. Grace shook her head. You're too nice, Naomi. Way too nice. The elevator arrived. They stepped inside. I'm not nice, Naomi said. I'm just tired. Grace laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Aren't we all? The next afternoon, Naomi sat at her kitchen table, staring at the dress hanging on her closet door. Darla had dropped it off an hour ago. She'd been as kind as Grace promised, explained the gala duties, offered the dress without making it feel like charity. You'll need something nice to wear for the public-facing part, Darla had said. I had this from when I was thinner. It should fit you. The dress was simple but elegant. Dark blue, knee-length with a modest neckline. Nothing flashy, but it was the kind of dress Naomi never wore, the kind of dress for women who belonged in fancy places. Her apartment was small, one bedroom in a building where the heat didn't always work. She shared it with her aunt, who was asleep in the bedroom now. Her aunt had diabetes. The medication was expensive. Naomi worked 2 jobs to cover it. The janitorial work paid the rent. The weekend shifts at the grocery store covered everything else. Barely. $25 an hour would help. One night of work could pay for her aunt's prescriptions this month. Naomi picked up her phone and texted Darla. I'll do it. Thank you for thinking of me. The response came fast. Perfect. I'll send you the details. You're going to be great. Naomi set the phone down and looked at the dress again. She tried to imagine herself wearing it. Walking into a ballroom full of executives and consultants, Ethan Caldwell would probably be there. Not that it mattered. He didn't know her name, wouldn't recognize her face. To him, she was just the woman who cleaned his office. Naomi stood and touched the fabric of the dress. It felt soft, expensive. You're allowed to exist anywhere, she whispered to herself. It was something Grace said sometimes, when the work got hard, when the invisibility felt heavy. Naomi wasn't sure she believed it, but she needed the money. So she'd wear the dress, she'd help Darla, she'd do her job, and then she'd go back to being invisible. The hotel ballroom was already buzzing when Naomi arrived. She came in through the service entrance, her heart beating fast. She'd taken 2 buses to get there. The dress felt strange on her body. She wasn't used to wearing heels. Darla met her in the back hallway. She wore a sharp black suit and had a headset on. Naomi, perfect timing. Darla handed her a checklist. Okay, so first hour, I need you helping with the registration table. Just checking names, handing out name tags. Second hour, you'll float around making sure the appetizer stations stay stocked. After that, just keep an eye out for anything that looks off. Spills, empty glasses, that kind of thing. Got it, Naomi said. You look beautiful, by the way. Darla smiled. That dress fits you perfectly. Naomi felt heat in her cheeks. Thank you. There's a changing room down the hall if you need to touch up before we start. Doors open in 20 minutes. Naomi nodded and walked toward the changing room. Her reflection in the hallway mirrors startled her. She barely recognized herself. The dress made her look different. The heels made her walk differently. She'd pulled her hair back in a simple bun, put on a little makeup. She looked like she belonged here. That thought scared her more than anything. In the changing room, she checked her phone. A text from Grace. You got this. Remember, you're allowed to exist anywhere. Naomi smiled and put her phone in the small purse Darla had lent her. She took a deep breath, smoothed the dress, looked at herself one more time. It's just work, she told her reflection. Just another job. But her hands were shaking. The ballroom was stunning. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting warm light over everything. Round tables covered in white cloth filled the space. A small stage stood at the front, with a microphone and a podium. A bar stretched along one wall. Waiters in black vests moved through the crowd with trays. Naomi stood at the registration table, checking names on the list. People streamed in, dressed in suits and gowns. They smelled like expensive perfume and cologne. Name? Naomi asked each person. They told her. She checked them off, handed them a name tag. Most didn't really look at her. They took their tags and moved into the ballroom, already scanning the crowd for people they knew. But a few smiled, said thank you, looked at her like she was a person. It was strange how much that small kindness meant. An hour passed. Darla waved her over. Registration's done. Go ahead and help Marcus with the appetizer stations. Naomi nodded and headed across the ballroom. The room was filling up now. Laughter and conversation bounced off the walls. A jazz band played soft music in the corner. She felt out of place, like everyone could tell she didn't belong, but no one was looking at her. They were too busy with their own conversations. Marcus, the catering manager, showed her how to refill the stations. Shrimp, cheese, little pastries that probably cost more than her grocery bill. Just keep an eye on them, Marcus said. Replace the empty trays. You see me if you need anything. Okay. Naomi moved between the stations, doing her job. She was good at being useful, good at staying in the background. She was refilling the shrimp station when she heard a familiar voice. This is actually way better than last year's venue. Naomi glanced up. Ethan Caldwell stood 10 feet away, talking to a group of men in suits. He looked different in a tuxedo, more polished. His hair was combed back. He held a glass of wine. Naomi's stomach tightened. She turned away quickly, focusing on the shrimp. Caldwell's trying to impress the partners, one of the men said, laughing. Sucking up already? I'm not sucking up, Ethan said. I'm networking. There's a difference. The men laughed again. Naomi kept her head down. Who's that? Another voice said. Naomi froze. Who's who? Ethan asked. Her. By the shrimp. Naomi's hands stopped moving. She could feel them, looking at her now. I don't know, Ethan said. Why? She's gorgeous. Heat flooded Naomi's face. She picked up the empty tray and turned to walk away. Wait. She stopped, turned. Ethan was staring at her. His expression changed. Confusion, then surprise, then recognition. Do I? He stepped closer. Do I know you? Naomi's throat went dry. She wanted to disappear, to become invisible again. I work at Morrison, she said quietly. His eyes widened. Wait. You're the... He stopped himself, but she knew what he was going to say. The janitor. Yes, Naomi said. Silence stretched between them. The other men were watching now, curious. I didn't... Ethan looked embarrassed. I didn't recognize you. It's fine, Naomi said. She meant it. She was used to being unrecognizable. You look... He seemed to struggle for words. You look really nice. Thank you. One of the men, a guy with slicked back hair and a smirk, leaned over to another, whispered something. They both glanced at Naomi. She saw it happen, saw the moment the rumor started. Ethan Caldwell and the janitor. I should get back to work, Naomi said quickly. Wait. Ethan reached out like he wanted to stop her, but she was already moving. She walked across the ballroom, her face burning. Behind her, she heard the men talking, heard the low laughter. This was a mistake. She shouldn't have come, should have known better than to think she could exist in this space without consequences. Darla found her in the back hallway. You okay? Darla asked. You look upset. I'm fine. Naomi's voice was tight. Just needed a minute. Someone give you trouble? No, nothing like that. Naomi took a breath. I'm fine, really. But she wasn't fine. She could feel the weight of those stares, could imagine what they were thinking, what they were saying. She'd been invisible for so long, and now, suddenly, she was being seen, but in the worst possible way. Take 5, Darla said gently. Get some water, then come back when you're ready. Naomi nodded and walked toward the service area. In the bathroom, she splashed cold water on her face, looked at herself in the mirror. The dress was beautiful, but it didn't change who she was, didn't change how they saw her. She dried her face and went back to work. The rumor spread fast. By the time the dinner was served, Naomi could feel it. The way people looked at her when she passed, the way conversations dropped to whispers. Ethan Caldwell brought the janitor to the gala. She hadn't come with him, hadn't even known he'd be here. But the truth didn't matter. The story was already written. Naomi kept working, cleared plates, refilled water glasses, stayed professional. Ethan tried to approach her twice. Both times she moved away before he could reach her. She didn't want his explanations, didn't want to make this worse. But then Victor Hale, the man with the slicked back hair, cornered her by the bar. "So," he said, grinning, "how long have you and Caldwell been, you know?" Naomi looked at him, kept her voice steady. "I don't know what you're talking about. Come on, it's obvious. He brings you here, shows you off." Victor's smile was mean. "Does he pay you extra for that?" The words hit like a slap. Naomi felt her hands curl into fists. "Excuse me," she said coldly. She tried to walk past him. Victor stepped in front of her. "Hey, I'm just asking." "Move." Her voice was quiet but firm. Something in her tone made him step aside. Naomi walked away, her heart pounding. Across the room, Ethan had seen it. He was moving toward Victor now, his face tight with anger. Naomi didn't wait to see what happened. She found Darla. "I need to go," Naomi said. "I'm sorry, I can't be here." Darla looked at her, understanding in her eyes. "Of course. You've done more than enough. Thank you, Naomi." "I'm sorry." "Don't apologize. You did nothing wrong." Darla squeezed her arm. "Nothing at all." Naomi grabbed her coat and left through the service exit. The cold night air hit her face. She walked fast, her heels clicking on the sidewalk. She just wanted to get away, to be invisible again. Behind her, the hotel glowed with warm light. Music and laughter drifted out, but Naomi was already halfway down the block, disappearing into the dark. Inside the ballroom, Ethan stood alone near the bar, watching the door she'd walked through. His jaw was tight. His hands were fists at his sides. He'd made this happen. He'd created this situation just by recognizing her, just by staring. The gala continued around him, but for the first time in his life, Ethan Caldwell felt completely out of place, and he couldn't stop thinking about the quiet dignity in Naomi's eyes as she'd walked away. Monday morning came too fast. Naomi stood in the lobby of Morrison & Associates, her cleaning cart beside her. The building hummed with the usual morning energy. People rushed past with coffee cups and briefcases. Phones rang. Elevator doors opened and closed. But something was different. People were looking at her, not past her, not through her, at her. Two women from accounting stood by the coffee station, whispering. When Naomi walked by, they stopped talking. One of them smiled, a tight, fake smile that didn't reach her eyes. Naomi kept her head down and pushed her cart toward the service elevator. "That's her," someone said behind her. A man's voice, low but not quiet enough. Her chest tightened. She pressed the elevator button and waited. The weekend had been long. She'd worked her grocery store shift on Saturday and Sunday, trying not to think about the gala, trying not to replay Victor Hale's words in her head, trying not to remember the way Ethan had looked at her, that moment of recognition that had changed everything. The elevator arrived. Empty. Naomi stepped inside and let out a breath. But as the doors started to close, hand caught them. Ethan Caldwell stepped in. Naomi's stomach dropped. She moved to the side of the elevator, making space. "Good morning," Ethan said quietly. She nodded but didn't speak. The elevator rose. Silence filled the small space. Naomi could feel him looking at her. "Naomi," he said, "I wanted to. Please don't." Her voice was soft but firm. "I just want to apologize." "You didn't do anything wrong." She kept her eyes on the floor numbers above the door. "It's fine." "It's not fine. What Victor said to you was Victor's problem, not yours." The elevator stopped on the third floor, Naomi's floor. The doors opened. She pushed her cart out and turned back. Ethan was still standing there, his expression troubled. "I'm sorry," he said again. Naomi looked at him for a long moment, saw the guilt on his face, the earnest need to fix something he thought he'd broken. "You don't need to apologize for noticing me," she said quietly. "But you also can't fix what other people think. So please, just let it go." The elevator doors closed between them. Naomi stood there for a moment, her hands gripping the cart handle. Her eyes burned, but she wouldn't cry. Not here. Not where people could see. She went to work. The whispers followed her all week. Grace noticed it too. "People are talking," Grace said on Wednesday night. They were cleaning the break room together, the office empty around them. I know, Naomi said. You okay? Yeah, Grace gave her a look. Liar, Naomi smiled a little. I'm managing. What happened at that gala? You never told me the whole story. Naomi sprayed down the counter. There's not much to tell. Ethan Caldwell recognized me. People saw. They made assumptions. That's it. And Victor Hale's a piece of garbage. That too. Grace leaned against the wall. Ethan's been different this week. Different how? Asking people's names, actually looking at them when they talk. It's weird. Grace tilted her head. You think that has something to do with you? No, Naomi said, but her heart beat a little faster. He asked me your name yesterday, Grace said, pretended like he didn't know it, then thanked me for all the hard work you both do, like he just noticed we exist. Naomi didn't know what to say to that. Grace pushed off the wall. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but guilt doesn't mean respect. Remember that. I will. But later that night, as Naomi pushed her cart down the empty hallway, she passed Ethan's office. The light was still on. He was working late. She paused just for a second. Through the glass wall, she could see him at his desk, staring at his computer screen. He looked tired, stressed. Then he looked up and saw her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Ethan stood, walked to his office door, opened it. Hi, he said. Hi. You're still here. I work until 9 most nights. He nodded slowly. I didn't know that. Most people don't. Silence, stretched between them. Not comfortable, but not hostile either. I talked to Victor, Ethan said finally. I told him what he said to you was unacceptable. I made sure he knew that. Thank you, Naomi said. But you didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. His voice was firm. What he said was wrong. What he implied was disgusting. And I should have shut it down the second I heard it. Naomi studied his face. He meant it. She could tell. Okay, she said quietly. I also want you to know, I didn't bring you to that gala. I know that's what people are saying, but it's not true. You were there working. I was there for the company. We just happened to be in the same place. I know. Do you believe that everyone else knows? Naomi almost laughed. No. Then I'll make sure they do. I'll set the record straight. Please don't. The words came out sharper than she meant. She softened her tone. Please, if you start making big announcements, it'll just make things worse. People will talk more. They'll speculate more. Just let it fade. Ethan looked frustrated. So I'm supposed to do nothing? You're supposed to respect my decision. Naomi met his eyes. I've dealt with being invisible for a long time. I can deal with being visible for the wrong reasons. It'll pass. That's not fair to you. Maybe not, but it's reality. She gripped her cart handle. I need to finish my floor. Wait. Ethan stepped out of his office. Can I ask you something? Naomi hesitated. What? Do you hate me? The question surprised her. She looked at him, really looked at him, saw the genuine concern in his eyes, the vulnerability. No, she said honestly. I don't hate you. I don't even know you. Would you want to? The words came out fast, like he hadn't planned to say them. Know me, I mean. Would you want to, I don't know, have coffee sometime? Talk? Naomi's chest tightened. This was dangerous. This was exactly what people thought was already happening. I don't think that's a good idea, she said quietly. Because of what people will say? Because I don't need complications in my life right now. Ethan nodded slowly. Okay, I understand. But he looked disappointed. That surprised her too. Good night, Mr. Caldwell, Naomi said. It's Ethan. She almost smiled. Good night, Ethan. She pushed her cart down the hallway, feeling his eyes on her back. Thursday evening, Naomi's aunt had a bad day. The doctor's appointment had gone poorly. The medication wasn't working as well as it should. They needed to try something new, something more expensive. Naomi sat at her kitchen table, staring at the bill. The numbers blurred together. Her savings account was already empty. The grocery store was cutting hours. She'd have to pick up extra janitorial shifts, but there were only so many hours in a week. She was so tired. A knock on the door made her look up. She wiped her eyes quickly and checked the peephole. Grace stood in the hallway, holding a pizza box. Naomi opened the door. You look terrible, Grace said. Thanks. I brought food and wine, the cheap kind, but still. Grace walked in without waiting for an invitation. She set the pizza on the counter and looked around. Your aunt sleeping? Yeah. Grace pulled out 2 paper plates and opened the pizza box. Eat, then tell me what's wrong. I'm fine. Naomi, eat. They ate in silence for a few minutes. The pizza was good, warm. Naomi hadn't realized how hungry she was. Medical bills? Grace asked, nodding at the paper on the table. Naomi nodded. How bad? Bad enough? Grace sighed. I wish I could help. You're here. That helps. They finished eating. Grace poured wine into coffee mugs. They sat on Naomi's small couch, the TV playing low in the background. You know, Grace said, Ethan Caldwell's been asking about you. Naomi's stomach flipped. Asking what? Just questions. Where you're from, how long you've worked there, if you're... Grace paused. If you're seeing anyone. Grace. I didn't tell him anything. I just thought you should know. Naomi took a sip of wine. It was sour and warm. He asked me to have coffee with him. Grace's eyebrows shot up. When? Last night. I said no. Why? Because it's a bad idea. Maybe, or maybe it's just scary. Grace looked at her. When's the last time you did something for yourself? Something that wasn't work or taking care of your aunt? Naomi didn't answer. I'm not saying date the guy, Grace continued. I'm just saying, you're allowed to have a life, Naomi. You're allowed to be more than invisible. I like being invisible. No, you don't. You're just used to it. Grace set down her mug. There's a difference. Later, after Grace left, Naomi lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her aunt's soft snoring came through the thin walls. The building creaked and settled around her. She thought about Ethan's question. Would you want to know me? The honest answer scared her. Because yes, part of her did want to know him. Wanted to understand why he suddenly seemed to see her. Why he cared about making things right. But wanting something didn't make it safe. Didn't make it smart. Naomi closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Friday afternoon, Naomi left work early to take her aunt to a follow-up appointment. The clinic was across town. 2 buses and a long wait in a crowded room that smelled like antiseptic. By the time they got home, it was almost 6. Naomi was exhausted. Her aunt was pale and weak. Getting her upstairs and into bed took the last of Naomi's energy. She sat on her couch afterward, still in her work uniform, too tired to change. A knock on the door. Naomi dragged herself up and checked the peephole. Ethan Caldwell stood in the hallway. Her heart stopped. What was he doing here? How did he even know where she lived? She opened the door but didn't invite him in. Hi, Ethan said. He looked nervous. I'm sorry to show up like this. I know it's weird. I asked Darla for your address. She made me promise this wasn't creepy before she'd give it to me. Naomi just stared at him. I was driving home and I saw you getting off the bus, he continued quickly, with an older woman. She looked sick. I thought maybe you could use a ride home, but by the time I parked, you were already gone. So he trailed off. This sounds really creepy now that I'm saying it out loud. Yeah, Naomi said. It kinda does. I'm sorry. I'll go. He started to turn away. Wait. The word came out before she could stop it. Why are you here? Really? Ethan turned back. Because you looked exhausted. Because I wanted to help. Because... He ran a hand through his hair. Because I can't stop thinking about how I walked past you every day for 2 years and never saw you. And now that I do see you, I keep realizing how hard your life is. And that feels wrong, that I didn't notice. Naomi leaned against the door frame. You're not responsible for my life. I know, but I can still care. Why? The question came out harder than she meant. You don't know me. I'm just the janitor who... Stop calling yourself that. His voice was firm. You're not just anything. You're Naomi. You work 2 jobs. You take care of your aunt. You show up every day and do everything that needs doing without complaining. He paused. You're impressive. And I should have seen that a long time ago. Naomi's throat tightened. She wasn't used to being described that way. Being seen that way. I should go, Ethan said quietly. I really am sorry for showing up like this. But if you ever need anything, a ride, help with something, just someone to talk to, you can call me, okay? He pulled out a business card and held it out. Naomi took it slowly. Their fingers brushed. The touch was brief but electric. "Okay," she whispered. Ethan smiled, a small, genuine smile that made him look younger. "Good night, Naomi." "Good night." She watched him walk down the hallway and disappear into the stairwell. Then she closed the door and looked at the card in her hand. His name, his number, embossed letters on thick paper. She set it on the kitchen counter and stared at it for a long time. The weekend passed. Naomi worked both her jobs, took care of her aunt, tried not to think about Ethan's visit. But Monday night, when she was finishing her shift at Morrison and Associates, she found herself walking past his office again. The light was on. He was there, working late like always. This time, when he looked up and saw her, she didn't walk away. She stopped, raised her hand in a small wave. He stood immediately, came to the door, opened it. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They stood there, neither sure what to say. "Thank you," Naomi said finally. "For Friday, for offering to help." "You don't have to thank me." "I know, but I want to." Ethan smiled. "You want some coffee? I was about to make some, the good stuff from the executive break room, not the cafeteria sludge." Naomi hesitated. She should say no, should keep the boundaries clear. But she was tired and lonely, and he was looking at her like she mattered. "Okay," she said. "1 cup." His smile widened. "1 cup, I'll be right back." He disappeared down the hallway. Naomi stood in the empty corridor, her heart racing. This was dangerous, but maybe for once she wanted to be brave. They sat in the small break room on the 3rd floor. The coffee was good, smooth and dark. Ethan had brought real cream from somewhere. "So," Ethan said, sitting across from her at the small table. "Tell me about yourself. What do you want to know?" "Everything, anything. Where are you from?" Naomi wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "Virginia. Small town outside Richmond. I came here for college but couldn't finish. My aunt got sick. Someone had to take care of her." "Do you have other family?" "Not really. My parents died when I was young. My aunt raised me. So when she needed help," Naomi shrugged. It wasn't even a question. Ethan nodded slowly. "That's why you work 2 jobs. Medical bills are expensive, and rent, and food, and everything else." "That's not fair." Naomi smiled a little. "Life usually isn't." "Do you ever," Ethan paused, "do you ever get to do things for yourself? Fun things?" "Sometimes. Grace and I go to the movies when we can afford it. I read a lot, library books." She took a sip of coffee. "It's not a sad life, Ethan. It's just my life. Still, you deserve more than just survival." "Maybe, but surviving is hard enough most days." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "What about you?" Naomi asked. "Tell me about Ethan Caldwell." He laughed. "Not much to tell. Grew up in Connecticut, went to business school, started here 3 years ago. I'm good at my job but terrible at everything else." "I doubt that." "It's true. I work too much. I don't have close friends. My mom thinks I'm wasting my potential." He set down his mug. "I'm 29 and I just realized I've been sleepwalking through my own life." "What woke you up?" He looked at her. "You did." The words hung in the air between them. Naomi's heart beat faster. "Ethan, I'm not saying that to make you uncomfortable," he said quickly. "I'm just being honest. Seeing you at that gala, it made me realize how blind I've been, how much I've missed by not paying attention. You can't build a life on guilt." "This isn't guilt." His voice was soft but certain. "This is me wanting to know the person I should have known all along." Naomi didn't know what to say to that. Part of her wanted to run. Part of her wanted to stay. "We should probably finish our coffee," she said finally, "before it gets cold." Ethan smiled. "Okay." They talked for another 20 minutes. Easy conversation. Naomi learned he liked old movies and bad puns, that he played piano as a kid but quit because he hated practicing, that he was afraid of birds for no good reason. She laughed more than she had in months. When they finally stood to leave, Ethan walked her to the service elevator. "Thank you," he said, "for giving me a chance. It was just coffee." "Still." The elevator arrived. Naomi stepped inside. "Same time next week?" Ethan asked. She should say no, should keep this from becoming something it couldn't be. But she heard herself say, maybe. His smile was bright. I'll take maybe. The doors closed. Naomi rode down alone, her coffee-warmed mug still in her hands, a small smile on her face she couldn't quite hide. The next 2 weeks passed in a strange, careful rhythm. Naomi worked her shifts, took care of her aunt, tried to keep her life normal. But 3 times a week, she found herself sitting in that break room with Ethan, sharing coffee, talking about everything and nothing. He told her about his childhood, the pressure from his mother to be successful, the loneliness of always chasing the next promotion. She told him about her aunt's recipes, the books she loved, the dreams she'd had before life got complicated. They never talked about what they were doing, never labeled it. It was just coffee. But something was growing between them, something warm and careful and real. Grace noticed immediately. You're smiling more, she said one night as they cleaned. Naomi tried to hide her grin. Am I? Don't play dumb. It's Ethan, isn't it? You're spending time with him. We just talk sometimes, that's all. Mm-hmm. Grace's tone was knowing. And how do you feel about him? Naomi stopped wiping the counter, thought about it honestly. Scared, she admitted, but also happy. He makes me feel like I matter, like I'm worth knowing. You are worth knowing. I know, but he makes me believe it. Grace put down her spray bottle. Just be careful, okay? I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but there's a difference between talking in an empty office and actually being together, out there, where people can see. We're not together. Not yet, but you want to be. I can tell. Naomi didn't deny it. That night when she met Ethan for coffee, something felt different. He seemed distracted, worried. You okay? She asked. He looked up from his mug. Yeah, just, family stuff. Want to talk about it? He hesitated. My mom wants me to come to dinner on Friday. She's been asking about the gala, about the rumors. Naomi's stomach tightened. Oh, I didn't tell her about you, about us talking, I mean. I just said the rumors weren't true, that nothing happened. That's good. Is it? He looked at her, because I feel like I'm lying. We're not doing anything wrong. I know, but it still feels like I'm hiding something. Hiding you. The word hung between them. Hiding. Maybe that's because you are, Naomi said quietly. Ethan flinched. I don't want to, but you do, and I understand why. She set down her coffee. Your mom wouldn't approve, would she, of you spending time with me? It doesn't matter what she thinks. It does, though. She's your mother, and I'm... Naomi trailed off. You're what? I'm the janitor, Ethan. I'm the woman people whisper about, the one who doesn't fit into your world. That's not true. It is, and you know it. Her voice was sad but firm. This, whatever this is, it can't go anywhere. Not really. Why not? Because eventually you'll have to choose between this comfortable thing we have in secret and the reality of what it would mean to be with me out there. And when that happens, she stood up. I don't think I can handle watching you choose the easier path. Naomi, I need to finish my shift. She left before he could say anything else. Left him sitting alone in the break room, his coffee going cold. For 3 days, Naomi avoided him. She changed her schedule, cleaned different floors, made sure she was never alone where he might find her. It hurt, more than she wanted to admit, but it was necessary. Grace was right. There was a difference between stolen conversations and real life, and Naomi couldn't let herself fall for someone who might not be ready to catch her. Thursday evening, her aunt had another bad episode. Naomi came home from the grocery store to find her on the bathroom floor, too weak to stand. Panic flooded through her. She called 911, rode in the ambulance, spent 4 hours in the emergency room while doctors ran tests and asked questions. The diagnosis wasn't good. Her aunt's diabetes was getting worse. She needed better medication, more monitoring, possibly home care assistance, all things that cost money Naomi didn't have. She sat in the waiting room at 2 a.m., her head in her hands, trying not to cry. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Are you okay? You weren't at work tonight. I'm worried. Ethan, he must have gotten her number from Darla. Naomi stared at the message for a long time. She should ignore it, should keep the distance she'd created. But she was so tired, so scared, so alone. Her fingers moved before she could stop them. At the hospital. My aunt had an episode. The response came immediately. Which hospital? I'm coming. You don't have to. Tell me which hospital, Naomi, she told him. 20 minutes later, Ethan walked into the waiting room. He wore jeans and a wrinkled t-shirt like he'd thrown on whatever was closest. His hair was messy. He looked worried. Hey, he said softly, sitting beside her. Hi. How is she? Stable, but not good. Naomi's voice cracked. They want to keep her overnight, maybe longer. What do you need? Coffee? Food? I can go get... I need you to not be here. The words came out harsh. I can't do this right now. Ethan looked hurt but didn't move. I'm not leaving. Ethan, you've been avoiding me for 3 days. I gave you space because I thought that's what you needed. But I'm not walking away now, not when you're going through this alone. I'm always alone. Not right now. Right now I'm here. He shifted closer. And I'm not going anywhere unless you actually want me to leave, do you? Naomi looked at him, saw the genuine concern in his eyes, the steadiness. No, she whispered. Okay then. He stayed, sat beside her in silence, didn't try to fix anything or say meaningless comforting words. Just stayed. Around 4 a.m., Naomi's head dropped onto his shoulder. She was too exhausted to stop herself. Ethan didn't move. Just let her rest. When the doctor finally came out with an update, Ethan stood with her, listened to the medical jargon, asked questions Naomi was too tired to think of. We'll keep her for another day, the doctor said. Make sure everything stabilizes, then we can discuss next steps. Naomi nodded numbly. After the doctor left, Ethan turned to her. You should go home. Get some sleep. You've been up all night. I can't leave her. You can. She's stable. She's sleeping. And you're going to crash if you don't rest. He pulled out his car keys. Come on, I'll drive you home. Ethan, I can take the bus. Naomi, please, let me help. She was too tired to argue. The drive to her apartment was quiet. The city was just starting to wake up. Pale light touched the edges of buildings. Thank you, Naomi said as he pulled up to her building. For coming. For staying. You don't have to thank me. I know, but I want to. She looked at him. You didn't have to do this. Yes, I did. Why? He met her eyes. Because I care about you. I know you don't want to hear that. I know it's complicated. But it's true. I care about you, Naomi, and I'm not going to pretend I don't. Her heart beat faster. Ethan! You don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. He got out and walked around to open her door, helped her out of the car. They stood there on the sidewalk, the morning air cold around them. Get some sleep, Ethan said gently. Call me if you need anything, I mean it. Naomi nodded, started toward her building, then stopped and turned back. Ethan? Yeah? I care about you too. His expression softened. Yeah? Yeah, but I'm still scared. I know, that's okay. He smiled. We can be scared together. She went inside feeling lighter than she had in days. Friday evening, Naomi visited her aunt in the hospital, brought her magazines and the blanket from home. Her aunt looked better, tired but stable. You look different, her aunt said, studying Naomi's face. I'm just tired. No, you look lighter, happier. Her aunt smiled. There's a boy, isn't there? Naomi felt heat in her cheeks. I don't know what you're talking about. Liar, I raised you. I know that look. Her aunt reached for her hand. It's okay to be happy. Baby, it's okay to let someone in. It's complicated. Love usually is. I didn't say I loved him. Her aunt just smiled. Not yet. Later, as Naomi was leaving, she got a text from Ethan. How's your aunt? Better, thank you for asking. Good. Are you working tonight? Yes. Evening shift. Can I see you? After? Naomi hesitated. Thought about Grace's warning, about her own fears, about all the reasons this was a bad idea. Then she thought about Ethan sitting beside her in the hospital, about the way he'd stayed without asking for anything. Okay. They met on the roof of the Morrison building. Naomi didn't even know you could access the roof until Ethan showed her the service stairs. The city spread out below them, lights and movement and life. I come up here sometimes, Ethan said, leaning against the railing. When work gets overwhelming, it helps to see things from a distance. It's beautiful, Naomi said. They stood in silence for a moment, comfortable, easy. I talked to my mother tonight, Ethan said finally. About you. Naomi's stomach dropped. You did? I told her I was seeing someone, that it was new but important, that she was going to meet you eventually, and I wanted her to be prepared. What did she say? She asked what you did, where you were from, all the questions parents ask. He looked at Naomi. I told her you worked at Morrison, that you were the most genuine person I'd ever met, that I was lucky you gave me the time of day. Did you tell her I was the janitor? No, because that's not who you are. That's just your job. It's not the same thing to her. You know that. I know, but I don't care what she thinks. I care what you think. He turned to face her fully. I'm not hiding you, Naomi. Not anymore. If you want this, whatever this is, I'm all in, publicly, completely. Naomi's chest tightened. People will talk. Let them. Your career could be affected. Then I'll deal with it. Ethan, you don't understand. You're right. I don't understand what it's like to be judged for who you are before anyone knows you. I don't understand what it's like to be invisible until it's convenient for someone to see you. But I'm trying to understand. And I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove that I'm not going to walk away when it gets hard. Naomi looked at him, saw the sincerity in his eyes, the determination. Why me? She asked quietly. You could be with anyone, someone easier, someone who fits. Because you're not easy, because you challenge me to be better. Because when I'm with you, I feel like I'm actually awake for the first time in years. He stepped closer. And because the way you smiled at me over coffee last week made me realize I've never actually felt this way about anyone before. Naomi's breath caught. I'm not perfect, Ethan continued. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm probably going to disappoint you at some point. But I promise I'll never make you feel invisible again, and I'll never ask you to hide who you are. That's a big promise. I know. Naomi looked out at the city, thought about all the reasons this could go wrong, all the ways it could hurt, but she also thought about Ethan sitting beside her in the hospital, about his steady presence, about the way he made her feel seen. Grace's words echoed in her head. You're allowed to exist anywhere. Maybe that included here. With him. Okay, Naomi said softly. Ethan's expression brightened. Okay? Okay. I want to try. I'm still scared. But I want to try. He smiled, a brilliant, genuine smile that made her heart flip. Can I hug you? He asked. She nodded. He pulled her into his arms carefully, like she was something precious. Naomi let herself sink into the embrace, let herself feel safe, let herself hope. Thank you, Ethan whispered into her hair. For what? For trusting me. They stood there on the roof, the city glowing around them, holding on to something new and fragile and real. Below them, life continued. But up here, for this moment, they were just two people choosing to be brave together. The following Monday, the office gossip reached a new peak. Ethan Caldwell and Naomi Carter arrived at Morrison & Associates at different times, but by lunch, everyone knew they'd spent the weekend together, because Victor Hale had seen them. At a coffee shop on Saturday morning, sitting close, laughing, Ethan's hand covering Naomi's across the table. The photo Victor took was grainy and taken from across the street, but it was enough. By noon, it had circulated through 3 departments. Naomi heard about it from Grace. People are losing their minds, Grace said, showing her the photo on someone's phone. Half of them think it's sweet. The other half think it's scandalous. Naomi stared at the image. It was unmistakably them. Unmistakably intimate. He knew this would happen, Naomi said quietly. He said he didn't care. Do you believe him? I don't know. But then Ethan found her during her shift. His expression was tight with anger. I'm going to talk to HR, he said. What Victor did is harassment. He had no right to take that photo. Ethan, don't. He's been spreading rumors and taking pictures like you're not a real person, like your privacy doesn't matter. I'm not letting him get away with it. It'll just make things worse. No, it'll make things clear. He took her hand. I told you I wasn't going to hide. I meant it. He went to HR that afternoon, filed a formal complaint, made it clear that Victor's behavior was creating a hostile work environment. The office went silent with shock. People whispered, speculated. Some thought Ethan was brave. Others thought he was foolish. But no one could deny that he meant what he'd said. He wasn't hiding. And neither was Naomi. The HR meeting happened on Wednesday afternoon. Naomi wasn't required to attend, but Ethan insisted she be there if she wanted. She did. They sat in a small conference room with Jennifer Torres, the HR director. Jennifer was in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. Victor was called in separately. "Mr. Hale," Jennifer said, sliding the printed photo across the table, "did you take this photograph?" Victor glanced at it. "I was at the same coffee shop. I took a picture. So what?" "So you photographed two colleagues without their consent and distributed it throughout the office. It was on a public street. That's not illegal." "No, but it is a violation of our workplace conduct policy, specifically the section about creating a hostile environment through gossip and harassment." Victor's smirk faded. "Are you serious?" "Very. Mr. Caldwell filed a formal complaint. Ms. Carter has the right to do the same." Jennifer's voice was firm. "Your behavior at the gala, making inappropriate comments to Ms. Carter, was already flagged. This is a pattern." "I was joking." "Your jokes have consequences. This is a written warning. One more incident and you'll be terminated. Do you understand?" Victor's face went red. He glared at Ethan. "This is because you're embarrassed, because everyone knows you're—" "Careful," Jennifer interrupted. "Choose your next words very carefully." Victor stood up. "Whatever, this is ridiculous." He left, slamming the door behind him. Jennifer turned to Naomi and Ethan. "I'm sorry you've both had to deal with this. For what it's worth, there's nothing in our policy that prohibits workplace relationships as long as there's no power imbalance. Since you work in different departments with no supervisory relationship, you're fine." "Thank you," Naomi said quietly. "However," Jennifer continued, "I'd recommend being prepared for continued attention. Not everyone will be supportive. Some people will have opinions. Can you both handle that?" Ethan looked at Naomi. She looked back. "Yes," they said together. The attention was worse than Naomi expected. Some people were kind. They smiled at her in the hallways, said hello by name, treated her like she'd always been visible. But others whispered, stared, made assumptions about why Ethan was with her. Gold digger, social climber, using him. The words hurt more than Naomi wanted to admit. Grace noticed her withdrawing. "Talk to me," Grace said one night as they cleaned. "I'm fine." "You're not. You're doing that thing where you get quiet and small." Grace stopped working. "What happened?" Naomi set down her spray bottle. "I heard two women in the bathroom today. They were talking about me. Said Ethan must be going through some kind of crisis, that he'd get bored and move on, that I should enjoy it while it lasts because men like him don't end up with women like me." Grace's expression darkened. "Who were they?" "It doesn't matter." "It does. No, it doesn't. Because they are not wrong." Naomi's voice cracked. "We're from different worlds, Grace, different lives, and eventually that's going to matter." "Has Ethan given you any reason to think that?" "No, but then stop listening to people who don't know you, who don't know him." Grace gripped her shoulders. "You deserve happiness, Naomi. You deserve to be loved. Stop letting other people's opinions make you doubt that." Naomi nodded, but the words stayed with her, burrowed deep. That night, when she met Ethan after work, he could tell something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked. "Nothing." "Naomi," she sighed, told him about the bathroom conversation, watched his jaw tighten. "They're wrong," he said firmly. "Are they?" "Yes, completely." He took her hands. "Look at me. I'm with you because you're brilliant and kind and stronger than anyone I've ever met. Not because I'm having a crisis, not because I'm bored, because you make me want to be better. But we're so different. So what? Different doesn't mean wrong." His voice softened. "Do you want to be with me?" "Yes, but no buts. Do you want this?" Naomi looked at him, saw the certainty in his eyes, the steadiness. "Yes," she whispered. "Then that's all that matters. Not what they think, not what they say, just us." He pulled her close. Naomi let herself believe him. Thursday evening, Ethan called his mother. Naomi sat beside him on his couch. He'd invited her to his apartment for the first time. It was nice, clean, filled with books and modern furniture. "Mom," Ethan said into the phone, "I need to talk to you about something." Naomi could hear his mother's voice through the speaker, but not the words. "Her name is Naomi Carter. She's 27. She works at Morrison and Associates." He paused. "She's a janitor, but that's not what defines her." Silence on the other end. "I want to bring her to Sunday dinner," Ethan continued. "I want you to meet her. Actually meet her, not judge her, not dismiss her. Meet her." His mother's voice rose, sharp and fast. "I don't care," Ethan said. His voice was calm but firm. "I don't care what your friends will think. I don't care if it's not what you imagined. I care about her. And if you care about me, you'll respect that." More silence. "Sunday at 6, Ethan said. "I'll see you then." He hung up. Naomi stared at him. "That was necessary." He set down his phone. "She needs to know I'm serious, that this isn't going away." She didn't sound happy. "She'll get over it, and if she doesn't, that's her choice." He turned to Naomi. "I meant what I said. If you care about me, you'll be there. You don't have to come Sunday if you're not ready. But eventually I want my family to know you, to see what I see." "Which is what?" "Everything." Naomi's chest tightened. "I'm scared to meet her." "I know, but you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "And you're more than enough." Friday night, Naomi's aunt came home. From the hospital, Ethan helped carry her upstairs, helped get her settled in bed, stayed while Naomi made dinner. Her aunt watched him with sharp, knowing eyes. "So, you're the boy," she said. Ethan smiled. "I guess I am." "You better treat her right." "I plan to." "Plans aren't enough. Actions matter." "Yes, ma'am." Her aunt studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "You'll do." Later, after her aunt fell asleep, Naomi and Ethan sat in the small living room. The TV played low. The heater rattled. "Your aunt is terrifying," Ethan said. Naomi laughed. "She likes you." "How can you tell?" "She didn't tell you to leave. That's a good sign." They sat in comfortable silence, Ethan's arm around her shoulders, Naomi's head on his chest. "I'm still scared about Sunday," she admitted. "That's okay." "What if your mom hates me?" "Then she's wrong." He kissed the top of her head. "But I don't think she will. Not once she knows you." "You have a lot of faith in people." "I have a lot of faith in you." Naomi closed her eyes. Let herself feel safe. Let herself hope. Sunday came too fast. Naomi stood in front of her closet trying to decide what to wear. Everything looked wrong. Too casual, too formal. Too much like she was trying too hard. Grace came over to help. "This one," Grace said, pulling out a simple sweater dress. "Professional but not stuffy. Shows you care without looking desperate." "I am desperate." "Then fake it." Grace pushed the dress into her hands. "You're going to be fine. You're smart. You're kind. You're genuine. If his mother can't see that, she's an idiot." "She's not an idiot. She's protective." "Same thing sometimes." Naomi changed into the dress. Grace helped with her hair. Light makeup. Nothing dramatic. When Ethan arrived to pick her up, his eyes lit up. "You look beautiful," he said. "I look nervous." "You look beautiful and nervous." He kissed her cheek. "It's going to be okay." The drive to his mother's house took 30 minutes. Each mile made Naomi's stomach tighter. The house was in a wealthy neighborhood. Big houses with perfect lawns. The kind of place Naomi cleaned but never imagined living in. Ethan parked in the driveway, took her hand. "Ready?" he asked. "No? Want to leave?" "No," he smiled. "Oh, then let's go." Marianne Caldwell answered the door in a silk blouse and pearls. She was beautiful in that polished, untouchable way some wealthy women had. "Ethan," she kissed his cheek, then turned to Naomi. "You must be Naomi." "Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me." Marianne's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. Come in." The house was immaculate. Expensive furniture, art on the walls, everything perfect and cold. Dinner was already set on the dining room table. Roasted chicken, vegetables, wine in crystal glasses. They sat. Marianne at the head of the table, Ethan and Naomi across from each other. "So, Naomi," Marianne said, cutting her chicken with precision. "Ethan tells me you work at Morrison." "Yes, ma'am." "In what capacity?" "I'm part of the janitorial staff." Marianne's fork paused, just for a second. "I see." The silence was heavy. Naomi also takes care of her aunt, Ethan said. Full time. She works 2 jobs to cover medical expenses. That's very admirable. Marianne's tone was neutral. Do you have other family? No, ma'am. My parents passed when I was young. My aunt raised me. And you never finished college? No, my aunt got sick during my 2nd year. Someone had to care for her. Marianne nodded slowly. That must have been difficult, giving up your education. It was necessary. But surely there were other options, government assistance, care facilities. Naomi felt her defenses rise. I wanted to take care of her myself. She raised me. It was the least I could do. Of course, Marianne sipped her wine. It's just that sometimes our sense of obligation can limit our potential. Mom, Ethan said, his voice tight. I'm not criticizing, darling. I'm simply observing. She looked at Naomi. You seem like a very devoted person. But devotion and compatibility are different things. Naomi set down her fork carefully. With all due respect, Mrs. Caldwell, you don't know me well enough to judge compatibility. Marianne's eyebrows rose. That's fair. But I know my son. I know the life he's built, the expectations that come with it. I'm not asking him to give up anything. Aren't you? By simply being with him, you're asking him to navigate questions, judgments, complications. I'm aware of that. Naomi's voice was steady. But he's an adult. He gets to choose what complications he's willing to navigate. Ethan reached across the table, took Naomi's hand. I choose her, he said firmly, and I need you to respect that. Marianne looked at their joined hands. Something shifted in her expression, not acceptance, but consideration. Tell me, she said to Naomi, what do you want from my son? Naomi met her eyes directly. I want him to be happy. I want to support him. I want to build something real with him, and I want to do it without pretending to be someone I'm not. Even if who you are makes things harder for him? Yes, because if I have to pretend, then what we have isn't real, and he deserves real. Silence filled the room. Then Marianne smiled, small, genuine. You're tougher than you look, she said. I've had to be. Marianne nodded slowly, looked at Ethan, then back at Naomi. All right, she said quietly. I'll try. It wasn't an endorsement, it wasn't approval, but it was a start. The rest of dinner was easier. Marianne asked real questions about Naomi's aunt, her childhood in Virginia, her favorite books. She even laughed once, when Ethan told a story about burning pancakes. When they left, Marianne walked them to the door. Naomi, she said, thank you for coming, for being honest. Thank you for listening. Marianne turned to Q. Ethan. She's stronger than I expected. I told you. Yes, but I needed to see it. She kissed his cheek. Be good to her. I will. In the car, Naomi let out a long breath. That was, she started. Intense, Ethan finished. Yeah. You were amazing. I was terrified. You didn't show it. He took her hand. I'm proud of you. Naomi looked at him, saw the warmth in his eyes, the respect. Your mom doesn't hate me. No, I think she actually might like you. Don't push it, he laughed. Fair enough. They drove back to her apartment. Ethan walked her to her door. Thank you, Naomi said, for standing up for me, for not letting her dismiss me. Always. She kissed him, soft, grateful, full of promise. When she pulled back, he was smiling. See you tomorrow? He asked. See you tomorrow. She went inside feeling lighter than she had in weeks. 3 months later, the annual Morrison Gala came around again. Naomi stood in front of her mirror wearing a new dress. This one she'd bought herself, simple, elegant, her own. Grace sat on the bed behind her. You ready? Grace asked. Yeah, I think so. Nervous? A little, but good nervous. A knock on the door. Ethan, he wore a tuxedo, looked devastating, smiled when he saw her. Wow, he said. Hi. You look incredible. So do you, he offered his arm. Ready? Naomi took it. Ready. They walked into the building together, through the lobby, into the ballroom. Last year she'd entered through the service entrance, invisible. This year she walked in the front door, beside Ethan, visible. People stared, some whispered, but others smiled, nodded. Victor Hale stood near the bar. When he saw them, his expression soured. He turned away. Darla waved from across the room. Grace was there too, grinning. The room felt different, not because it had changed, but because Naomi had. She wasn't hiding, wasn't shrinking, wasn't pretending. She was just herself. And that was enough. Ethan leaned close. "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm good. Want to get some of that overpriced shrimp?" She laughed. "Definitely." They moved through the crowd together, equal, visible, secure. At one point, Marianne appeared. She wore a designer gown and her usual pearls. "Naomi," she said, "you look lovely." "Thank you, Mrs. Caldwell." "Marianne, please," she smiled. "I'm glad you're here." She moved on, leaving Naomi slightly stunned. "Did that just happen?" Naomi whispered. Ethan grinned. "Told you she'd come around." Later, when the dancing started, Ethan led her onto the floor. She'd never danced at a gala before, never imagined she would. But here she was, in his arms, moving to the music, surrounded by people who finally saw her. "I love you," Ethan said quietly. "I've been wanting to say that for a while." Naomi's breath caught. "You do?" "Yeah, I really do." She looked up at him, saw the truth in his eyes, the certainty. "I love you too," she whispered. He kissed her. Right there on the dance floor. In front of everyone. And Naomi didn't care who was watching, because she'd learned something important over the past few months. Real love didn't hide, didn't apologize, didn't shrink to fit someone else's expectations. Real love stood tall, chose courage, chose truth. And real love was worth every difficult moment it took to get there. 6 months after that, Naomi enrolled in evening classes. Finishing her degree, Ethan helped her study, quizzed her on flashcards, celebrated every small victory. Her aunt's health stabilized. The new medication worked. She even started attending a seniors group at the community center. Naomi still worked as a janitor, but she didn't feel invisible anymore. People knew her name, smiled when they passed her, treated her with respect. Grace got promoted to supervisor. She hired 2 new people, made sure they were treated well. Victor Hale transferred to a different branch. No one missed him. And Ethan kept showing up, every day, in big ways and small. He drove Naomi to class when the buses ran late, helped her aunt with grocery shopping, sat with them during hospital visits. He showed her what love looked like when it was steady, patient, real. 1 year after the gala, Ethan took Naomi back to the roof of the Morrison building. The city glowed below them, the same view, but everything felt different now. "I brought you up here for a reason," Ethan said. "Yeah?" He pulled a small box from his pocket. Naomi's heart stopped. "I've never been good at big romantic speeches," he said. "But I know this. You changed my life. You made me see what I was missing. You taught me that respect is earned through consistency, not moments. That love is about choosing someone every day, not just when it's easy." He opened the box. A simple ring. Beautiful. "I want to keep choosing you," he said, "every day, for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Naomi's face. Happy tears. "Yes," she said. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, pulled her close, kissed her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Below them, the city continued. Life moved forward. But up here, they stood still. 2 people who'd found each other against the odds, who'd chosen bravery over fear, who'd built something real and lasting and true. Naomi looked at the ring on her finger, then at Ethan's face. She'd spent so long being invisible, so long thinking she didn't deserve to take up space, but he'd taught her different, taught her that she was worth seeing, worth knowing, worth loving. And now, standing on this roof with the man she loved, Naomi Carter finally understood what Grace had been telling her all along. She was allowed to exist anywhere, even here, even now, even in a love story she'd never dared to imagine for herself. She was allowed, she was worthy, she was enough, and she always had been.